Hello everybody, welcome to JoINrbs Plays League of Legends, episode number 6. Let's go find some friends. Before I begin this episode, which will be the first episode where I'm jungling, I want to talk very briefly about basically the formula of solo queue jungling, is what I consider it to be. And it's not that this is like some secret thing which nobody else could ever know about and it will cause you to win all of your games. It's just like naturally what the map makes you want to do as a jungler. So obviously you start at one of your buffs, everybody knows that. Usually you want to start it at your bottom buff because mid lane and top lane are typically going to be easier to gank. You get a larger... You basically have a larger edge in a 2v1 than you would in a 3v2, and a lot of bot lanes have like some sort of escapability in their support, so they also have twice as many wards. So typically you'll start on the bottom half of the jungle at your buff at 155 and kill at about 213 or something. Okay, so you get level 2 there. Typically you'll go farm a camp and then farm your other buff, and you finish this about 3 minutes, and you're level 3 now. At level 3, you are the strongest champion on the map by a fairly considerable margin, except for the other team's jungler. Like, you have double buffs, and you're a level up on the solo laners. So level 3, you typically try to grab a gank, and you're basically messing around with the other team's jungler a lot right here, trying to like find a gank mid without the other team's jungler counter ganking or spotting you and warding you out. That's how I consider the like 3 minute mark to be best played. You have your flash up, and typically it's worth it to try to blow your flash to blow somebody else's flash or get a kill right now, because your flash isn't going to be doing very much for you for the next little while. Okay, so that's going to happen, and then you're probably going to recall because you're generally going to be out of sustain, depending on your particular jungler, but generally you'll probably be out of sustain around now, so you'll recall and buy around 4 minutes and probably pick up the next few items of your jungle item, and some vision, I think, is very important. Now you still have your red buff and you may still have flash, so the next thing to do is to respond to whatever weaknesses were created on the map by your first gank. Like, you may have blow and summoner spells in a lane, or who knows, maybe your lane is behind so you need to go defend it, but you probably want to take your ward, like walk down mid lane, maybe grab a camp on the way and like place a ward here or place a ward here or something depending on who needs defense, and then try another gank with your red buff, so you get a 5-minute gank off. The 5-minute gank will happen, you'll probably take some damage or what have you, and your red buff will pretty much be gone by this point, so like maybe go clear out a jungle camp or two and go buy again. And at this point, you're no longer the strongest champion on the map at all. You don't have your ultimate yet, you're gonna hit that around like 720 when you kill the blue buff again, and you are no longer experience up on the solo laners. So on your second back, typically I think you want to buy some sort of vision. Green ward and a pink ward I think is pretty normal, and shoes aren't like a terrible idea. And then you have a minute before your blue buff comes up again, basically, in which you can go grab a camp or two and place a couple of wards. Make sure that you've got vision and that you're going to be able to clear your next buffs safely. 720 blue will come up, give it to your mid laner, grab a camp or something, or maybe gank mid if you'd like with your ultimate. That can be a very powerful gank. After like the second that you get your ultimate, to go gank makes a lot of sense because you have this ult which isn't on cooldown and you'd like to use it somewhere. Go get your red buff, maybe grab another camp if you want, and then you're going to recall, get as strong as possible, and now you're going to be a red buff jungler with ultimate up and a good number of items, and you should still have vision around the dragon area because you just bought 2 wards, and you can go to dragon and like maybe you can force a fight, or maybe you can go bot lane and use your ultimate and flash there because your flash should be up again from your first gank back at like 330 right around now. So maybe you can swing something bot lane to get a power discrepancy for a while, long enough for you to take dragon. Maybe you can go mid lane again, get a kill, and get dragon. But that's going to be the idea, to aim for the second double buff clear into like some sort of flash ult gank and grab the dragon at 9 minutes. And I'm just going to show you, this is like a super easy mode game. It's the first jungle game that I've played in a while where the replay actually worked and where things were like interesting enough that I felt like it would be worth commentating on. So I'm actually just going to run this game to the first dragon and show you how I try to apply all of what I just said. Amumu is a very weak early game jungler, and I picked him blind. I picked him on the first rotation against a first pick Syndra. The reason I did that personally is I don't really like most of the champions I played in lanes against a team with a Syndra on it, so I didn't really feel like grabbing one of those guys. And I don't know, Amumu is as good a jungler as any to pick blind in the jungle, I think, in solo queue. Amumu is a bad champion because he's weak at early game skirmishing. So if the other team has a very good jungler who understands how to apply jungle pressure and translate it into objectives, Amumu can be punished very, very hard. I have not run into junglers like that in solo queue very often. And yeah, I think that if you're sensible and understand that, like, if they invade your jungle as 3, you're not going to be able to skirmish them, you just need to give stuff up, you can get away with weak early game junglers very, very well. The only problem is if you, like, for some reason pick an early game jungler and then think that you're entitled to your buffs without buying vision or anything and get yourself killed. That is not ideal. So, alright, we have a Caitlyn and a Thresh. They're going to leash from me. I never did work out whether it's better to take E or W at level 1 on Amumu. It seems like it's pretty close. And I also like don't have a dedicated rune or masteries page for Amumu. I think that that stuff is far less important on jungle than it is on any other role. There's no reason to smite early. It used to be that smite was on long cooldown, so if you smote early you'd be able to get your red buff sooner, but smite is on such low cooldown that by the time you're killing the red buff it's going to be up again at this point, so you can just smite with your last auto attack. It deals 390 damage. Make sure that it doesn't get stolen by some extremely cheesy sort of weird thing. So I just talked about all the things that you are sort of like aiming to do in the abstract on your jungle path, but things change immediately in this game as our mid laner kills their mid laner and their jungler is pulled to mid lane. The fact that their jungler is pulled to mid lane creates a power discrepancy on the top half of the map, as I'm like not in mid lane and he is. He hasn't cleared his blue buff yet. It means that my top lane is safe, it means that my mid lane is safe. So if I was on a very, very strong early game jungler, I could consider going to his blue buff and trying to grab it here, but with Amumu I'm not. So what I do instead is I take advantage of the fact to just clear my jungle a little bit more thoroughly. I take wraiths on the way to red, and now I'm taking double golems. This is causing me to be on extremely low health as I finish the clear, which means I'm not going to be able to gank. But that's really okay because their jungler got taken out of the equation. He actually had his flash blown, and my top lane is pushed in anyway. It's not a very easy gank for me. I should probably have switched to purple vision only to begin with, but I don't know. Nothing about being able to see everything on the minimap really changed what I was doing there. The only thing was that I saw their jungler show up mid after my LeBlanc first blooded their mid, and that allowed me to take wraiths and double golems instead of spending time grabbing vision on the top half of the map. Alright, so at this point I'm looking for my surf's gank. I'm just grabbing wraiths on the way, and the gank that seems very obviously correct is to gank mid here. So here I come. LeBlanc engages, seeing that I'm there. I missed the bandage toss on a stun target, and actually Syndra's able to flash away here. And I don't think it's worth it to chase. We see Kha'Zix on that ward. We didn't know where he was beforehand, and like walking into a full health, double buff Kha'Zix chasing does not seem very good. LeBlanc keeps chasing and almost gets herself killed, and so I'm just like walking back to make sure they don't chase her down and kill her. But she gets away fine, and I return to jungling. So even though I gave up on getting the kill on that gank, it's still a very successful gank. Syndra no longer has flash, and we can be pretty sure that she dropped her ward somewhere in here as a response to that gank, were it up. So I'm grabbing wolves, and now I'm coming around the bot side. Their bot lane has been shoved in forever. I've been very aware of that, so they can't have wards out here unless Kha'Zix placed them, and Kha'Zix showed top half, so it's pretty unlikely that he has. I'm placing a green ward that I bought there on the way. Makes sense to gank and to place wards on the way to those ganks, and now I'm just coming in from the other side. So Cassiopeia actually teleports in here, which is pretty unnecessary, but like whatever. The kill gold's probably better on her than it is on me. Probably not actually worth it to blow that summoner spell, but you know. Okay, my red buff's gone. So I'm no longer the terror that I once was. This doesn't mean that I can't gank if the situation's right, but it does mean that ganking doesn't have to be nearly as large a priority as it was when I had the red buff and that red buff was ticking down. So, whatever. I go back, and now, as I talked about before I started this video, I'm in a like sort of a power trough. I don't quite have my ultimate yet. I'm out of buffs, so I'm grabbing boots, a pink ward, and a green ward, and getting my pots back again. Note this doesn't take me any closer to my jungle item, but that's like totally fine. My goal is to win the game, not to finish a jungle item. Ganking mid lane again seems like an obvious thing to do, but I see Kha'Zix on the ward that I've placed, and I see Syndra rotating down as well, and like there's no reason at all for us to try to fight that. Syndra Kha'Zix are going to be stronger in like a river fight than Amumu LeBlanc right now, and our bot lane sees it coming, so they're able to back off easily. They just miss a little bit of farm, and there was basically nothing I could have done to stop them from losing that farm, although my ward quite likely stopped them from losing a lot more than that farm. So rather than like try to gank, given the situation on the map, I just clear out the white while I'm waiting. This ward still has about a minute on it, but I might as well drop my pink here, and I actually end up clearing out a ward, which I guess Syndra or Kha'Zix placed on their roam down. And now I'm grabbing my blue buff for the LeBlanc. If your mid laner is absolutely terrible or is playing a champion which actually gains nothing from blue buff, I can understand taking the blue buff yourself on the jungle. But honestly, the main thing that I gain from the blue buff is the experience, so just standing next to it while LeBlanc kills it is, like, almost half as good for me. I'm not gonna run out of mana as a Spirit Stone Amumu clearing the jungle, and it's not even gonna increase my clear speed very much. It's not gonna increase my gank presence, because I'm, like, a one-hit wonder, pretty much, in ganking. Alright. So, I still have a green ward. I'd like to throw it down here, just to completely cover my team from Kha'Zix. The red buff's up, but I don't have to like go clear it straight away. In fact, if I'm going to clear the red buff and place this ward, it would make more sense to place the ward first so that I have the red buff for longer. Doesn't make much sense to be wearing a red buff while you go place a ward. No gank there. Cassiopeia is pinging for assistance up here. I don't really know what she expects me to do. She hasn't done a very good job of making herself assistable. I'm clearing the red buff. Kha'Zix just killed our LeBlanc, but actually LeBlanc manages to trade the kill back. And it's fine. I think their bot lane just backed, it looks like, but basically they can't take the dragon off that kill, so it's not a hugely impactful kill. My smite came up like right after I took the red buff, so I decided to take the double golems on the way back to base. And now I'm recalling, and this buy is like completely for strength. I want to go get this, and to do that I may have to fight someone. So I buy a Fiendish Codex and pot up again. So we're seeing Kha'Zix top half of the map on my ward. Cass is playing like defensively, understandably, and I just want to go straight to dragon. If Kha'Zix is on the top half of the map, like the worst thing that I can do by going straight to dragon is force him to come to the bottom half of the map, which relieves a lot of pressure on Cassiopeia, stops him from farming. As I'm on the way to dragon, fights happen bot lane, we end up killing Morgana. This is fine. I would have dove them probably had they not died before I got there. But they die before I get there. LeBlanc's ahead of Syndra in strong and jungle fights, so she messes around in the jungle. Kha'Zix is there, but our bot lane forced their bot lane back. We have so much vision control around the dragon right now, look at this vision control, that we just have the first dragon. And this was a pretty good team effort. I placed a lot of vision and got LeBlanc ahead, and then LeBlanc placed more vision and pressured people off, and our bot lane fought a good engagement in a situation where I could have gotten there to support them, to be fair, but they didn't even need me. And yeah, we get the dragon at 1025. And that is what I'm trying to do when I go into a jungle game. And probably why I win a lot of jungle games. So I invite you to try out that objective and vision based approach to jungling instead of in an early video I shared what I thought about Feral Flare, but basically I think you see a lot of solo queue junglers incorrectly choosing to farm camps when there are much more valuable things they can do on the map. And in this video I tried to show what those other valuable things are and what they can achieve for you, even on an Amumu who's really not known as a strong early game jungler. Alright. Yeah. I guess you'll never see the rest of this video, so I'll just briefly tell you we won pretty comfortably in 38 minutes. We could have won much sooner, but our LeBlanc presumably was some sort of smurf and felt like just running around killing people instead of actually helping us take objectives. So, whatever. There's a mini lesson in watching the end game as we're 12k up and it takes us 15 minutes to win because our team just won't stand next to each other and shoot the towers. But I'm not gonna bother playing through the entire rest of the game to show that. Alright, thanks for watching guys, and I hope you tune in next time.